Well, hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie, and welcome to Demos Intuitive Arts Reflections for Real Life. Whether it's your first time being here or you've come in and seen some of our previous videos, we welcome you with open arms and know that we are so humble and grateful that you are here. Each week, our intention is to leave a short video that does what Demos Intuitive Arts has become known for, which is taking the creative process, whether you're actually doing something and making something, or something historically from the creative world and weaving it into our everyday lives. Why? Because those are the tiny things that make a huge difference in how we pick and choose how we create our own life. And that's what we want for you. We want you to be able to create your own life and feel empowered and inspired to do that. And on our channel, what I like to do is to use a piece of artwork, perhaps by someone you know, perhaps by someone you've never heard of, and use that as inspiration for moving forward. Well, we've just entered the month of May, and this is the first weekend in May, and it feels like it took forever to come out of the winter. And I tend to walk a lot and be outside as much as I possibly can. And I really look to nature as the indicator to what kind of day I'm going to have, because I go out early in the morning. And it seemed like, again, it took forever and a day for me to start to see things come to life. Little tiny buds, nowhere to be found. And then all of a sudden, without anything really changing other than the date on the calendar and a little bit more of a length of sunshine in the day, and maybe a little bit of warmth if we were lucky enough to have that, I started to see these little blooming bits on trees and on shrubs. And then boom, in like 24 hours, all of a sudden everything seemed to be blossoming. And the world got a little bit brighter and it got a little bit more colorful. And I even felt my personal energy picking up. And it felt like all of a sudden, everything that I had been sort of packing away like a little pack rat all winter just exploded out to the scene. And so I hope that if you haven't been feeling that, that you start to feel that as well. So, besides everything in nature coming to life, the art world is also a buzz. You know, people are more creative, or like we're getting out there. And I don't mean just make paintings. I mean like we're out there and we're tidying up our home spaces, and we're repurposing things and thinking of interesting ways of using things that in a way that we've never done before. Or maybe you're working out in your garden or cleaning the yard, even cleaning the windows to let more light in. So all of those things are actually quite creative because you're doing things to make your life more beautiful. The artist that I like us to connect with today is one of my most favorite artists in the whole world. And I've been so blessed with having spent so much time with her artwork and also being out in her space and learning more about her. And that's Georgia O'Keeffe. And she's known as one of the truly historic American artists of this modern time. And the fact that she was a woman is not lost on me, because whether you know it or not, women have been making art forever. It's just that being recognized for that has been a long time coming. So O'Keeffe actually is very well known for her flower paintings, flowers and skulls. And what's fascinating is people, when she started to show her work, people started to have their opinions and their judgments. And she stayed true and fast to what she felt her work was about, regardless of what people wanted to see into it. And that's actually kind of good because as a viewer, you bring your own experiences into a work when you are absorbing it, and they may or may not necessarily connect with the artist. So, the piece I'd like to share with you today is called Jimson Weed. And this piece here, Jimson Weed, was done, oh my goodness, almost 100 years ago. And what's really interesting about it is its backstory. So, again, she's done a lot of paintings with a lot of flowers. And although this is a very small reproduction I'm sharing with you, this painting was quite large. And it's got this magnificent color harmony. And that means when colors go together, like harmonic music, right? There's nothing that's pushing or pulling or directing your eye to like one place in space and you can't get out of it. But what you see here on first glance is something that's very, very maybe calm and peaceful and joyful. And it shows things coming to life in the natural world. And it has a feminine quality to it because oftentimes we associate flowers with women and femininity. But there's something quite extraordinary going on underneath that. And that is the power of the piece, the extraordinary power of the size when in its reality is also the extraordinary boldness of the size of these flowers in bloom. They're almost creating this sort of for me anyway, a tunnel that's absorbing me into the piece. And I want to kind of go into it more and more so that I can ride the blooms of the petals as they are opening up. The other part of the story about this piece, which is extraordinary, is around the 30s, 1930s, there was another very, very bold entrepreneurial woman, and her work was in the field of cosmetics, and that was Elizabeth Arden. And Elizabeth Arden actually started a cosmetic empire, and she had a flagship store in New York City, right on Fifth Avenue. And it was known as the Red Door of Elizabeth Arden. And I believe to this day it still is. But in the 30s, Elizabeth Arden wanted something to capture women off the streets to come into her flagship store, which was also a spa, and recognize the beauty in all women and the boldness and the audacity to come into the spa at that time so that you could gift yourself with treatments that made you feel like you were blooming into the greatest beauty that you could be. So she hired Georgia O'Keeffe. She bought this painting and it was in their very, very large, beautiful window, welcoming women in off of Fifth Avenue in the 30s. Later on, this piece went to auction. And again, it was historic because at that time, it brought in over $44 million at auction when it was bought. And that was the most anybody had ever paid for a piece of artwork by a woman at that time. So O'Keeffe leaves us with this inspirational legacy as not just for women, but for everybody that, you know, if you're hiding yourself in a very, very small way and you're keeping yourself small like a bud, maybe this is your time. Maybe this is your season to come out and really show the world who you are. Um, for us, our reflection today, which we are hopefully being inspired by that piece, is to think about some of the things that we keep talking about. Is don't wait for the perfect time to begin to gift yourself with shoring yourself up and coming into bloom into the most magnificent organic blossom you could possibly be. You don't have to be certain about everything. You don't have to have it all figured out. It does require a little attention, and that can make you a little uncomfortable because we're not really comfortable with showing ourselves that much attention. We're so good about giving it to everybody else. And I'm asking you to perhaps reflect on how you can do that for yourself. And you also have to be willing and also willing to trust not just me, but trust yourself. You got this. So, just like the natural world, we are all capable of renewal again and again and again. So, this is not the only time I'm asking you to do this. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you are going to be doing it over and over again. So whether you want to do it thinking, whether you want to do it walking, maybe you want to think about it while you're doing the dishes or putting a machine load of clothes on, or whatever your everyday routine is about, or perhaps you have a special place and space like a journal where you keep your thoughts and you just want to write some of these things down. I'll give you some food for thought. So as we're moving from one season to the next, and this is the season of blooming and blossoming, maybe think about what it is in your life that you really want to grow right now. And don't push it. Don't push it, because the trees don't push their leaves and the plants don't push their flowers. It happens over a period of time, and it happens with a lot of nourishment, and that's what you should be most inspired by. So this invitation is to remind us that spring is the time of renewal, and it's always possible and it's always accessible, and that change is natural. And the beginning again doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you've opened the door to the possibility. It's a sign of life, and it's a sign of your life moving forward. If this invitation and this little YouTube resonated with you, again, I invite you and gratefully and humbly thank you if you would please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and offer some comments, because we really like to get to know you a little bit better. And we'll see you soon. Thank you for being here, and have an absolutely wonderful day.